Hey everyone, welcome to Dungeoneered, the show highlighting your player-made dungeons and houses from EverQuest II. Today we're going to take a look at another house. Last week we did the Amazing Library by Jezebel, so if you haven't taken a look at that, you might want to check it out because it's an awesome example of creating a house from nothing. And this week we're going to take a look at another one that was built totally from scratch. And like last week, we're going to tour the area first so everybody can see what the housing unit looks like before any decorations from the player was put in. This one is the Tenebrous Island Refuge, and it's basically like the Vale of Half Pint Delight, which was a big open island. This one's like a floating island, and as you can see, this one is very minimal. The Vale of Half Pint Delight was a little bit hilly. It came with some developer-made trees dotting the area, and it had a very Hobbit-esque little house too you could decorate. This one, however, is totally empty, so not much to see. I mean, there's the distant views of the floating islands. So what we're going to do is we're going to check out Arissia's house that she made. She made a modern Japanese home, which is absolutely incredible. So this is it. At first, if you come in here before you take a look at the housing unit, before you look at what she did to the place, you might think that all these trees are developer-made and that, but they're not. As you can see, she plopped down an entire forest of trees just to bring the area to life. And the house is tucked away in the corner here, and it's absolutely amazing. So let's go take a look. We'll take a look at the gazebo first here on the outside, on the outskirts. Some people might think this is some of this stuff is fairly unassuming, and maybe they might even think, big deal, look at it, big deal, it's just a gazebo. But you have to imagine that didn't exist here until Arissia put it there. I mean, none of it was there. As you can see, they're using all kinds of different items. They're using stairs of sumac is one of the items. Here's a pristine stained tapestry of valor. The bridge is all stairs of sumac, kind of overlapped. And if you really look closely, and oh, I popped right up there, didn't I? If you really look closely, sometimes you can see the seams. You can kind of see, you know, if you look closely, there's little hints that give it away. But here's the front. We're going to do a tour around here. She put in a really awesome and large bamboo garden here. I don't want to fall off the... So here's the back little statue. I'm not sure how she got this this raised sandy area in here. This is wavy sand squares. That's what she did. She made a raised area, and they're either thick squares or they act like tiles. And here's something that is a nice little touch. It's it's like a doll I forget what they call them. They're like dolls that you can place that represent animals and monsters in the world. And I'm guessing this is a very rare one or hard to get one. And he just sort of lumbers around back and forth. So as you can see, this entire house was not here, and it's very, very well designed. I mean, it's very cool. Iron fences for parts of the windows, and a lot of the wood is sumac material because it's all the same color. And as you can see, even the floor here is a tall divider of sumac. These are all stairs making up the white walls. So very imaginative. So I really like the highlights, like this bookcase. I'm not quite sure what the original looks like. I'm sure she did some creative overlapping to get this particular design. Here's another example of perhaps taking an original and creating a new design from overlapping. That's typical of house making in EverQuest II. The community really pushes their imagination to come up with this stuff, like this modern house, modern Japanese house, by really stretching what they think they can do with the pre-existing furniture pieces by overlapping and resizing and, you know, turning and shaping and twisting. Here's the top floor. So as you can see, very Japanese. This was a sumac dining table. More sumac stuff. That's pretty much how she's getting this look. Now see, these chairs were made out of columns, and let's see, and a canvas bedroll, and of course there's a little throw cushion. Now some of the items, of course, she didn't have to make, like these lanterns, swaying yellow paper lantern. So, luckily some of the furniture worked in her favor, but the majority of this is obviously completely from her imagination. And it's pretty amazing. Here's a window, and this was made out of more railings of sumac, and then I believe there's even something making up the glass because you can see kind of a foggy tint, and it's the misty fog tiles. This is interesting. In the last housing tour, last week's episode, there's windows that look very similar to this, but it was a vampiric, I think it was a vampiric mirror was the item. So it fooled me. I thought that's what it was going to be, but it's actually foggy tiles. And here's another great example of overlapping to make an entirely new item. This bookcase here is actually a bunch of benches and a wall divider put together, overlapped. You can see these curling ends coming out here are sort of the sides of these benches, sumac benches, and then the backing is the tall divider. And then of course she placed a ton of books and other knickknacks on it, some weapons. Another amazing example of player creativity in EverQuest II. These little stepping stones. get a better view of the whole thing here. So that's it. That's this week's. Short and sweet, but not simple. Obviously that took a tremendous amount of work. I don't know how long it took them, but it's amazing that people can come up with those ideas, let alone implement them using the different furniture pieces and stuff like that. Now, some people do use the layout editor, but and some people, I guess some people think that's cheating, but personally, I don't think that's cheating. In my opinion, if it's used and if it's condoned by the game developers, or even if it's not condoned but not frowned upon by the game developers, I mean, it's not hurting anybody. I don't really think that's hurting anybody. I mean, because we're dealing solely with housing design, and you're not really getting in the way of gameplay and circumventing game mechanics and things like that. Certainly not that, but there are people that try to like push their imagination with only using what the game gave them, and I suppose they think that the layout editor wasn't one of those devices. But still, whether Arissia used it or not, I don't know. But I don't really care personally. I think it's an amazing building and an amazing example. Last week's episode is another amazing example. Both of them are great buildings, using a lot of imagination and probably a lot of time. So that does it for this week. Next week we'll probably get back to a dungeon. As always, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Jeremy_Stratton. You can find me on Google+. I'm Jeremy Stratton on Google+. You can check out my blog, Just One More. That's with Mmorpg, and I'll put those links in the descriptions below. And I'll see you next week.